So, could you tell me about the film 2001: A Space Odyssey?
Why? Okay. So, Arthur C. Clarke writes, a long time ago, he writes a story called The Sentinel. And, I always feel like I'm saying that word wrong. Anyway, so, Kubrick wants to make a film. Kubrick approaches Arthur C. Clarke because he does, like, sort of poppy science fiction writing, but it's also some really good science fiction. And he is credited with the idea of the space elevator, which is something that actually would work. And the geosynchronous satellite is Arthur C. Clarke's idea. Anyway, so he approaches him and says, write me a film. Arthur C. Clarke digs through all his crap that he's written over the years, looks at Sentinel, and he says, oh, I'll expand this story. So in Sentinel, we go to the moon, we wander around. What's that? Up on the cliff. We go over to the cliff. There's this thing. Like it's sort of this crystalline, like radio transmitter, basically. And we smash it open. The radio transmitter stops transmitting, and the aliens, wherever they are, know that now we're there, and that we've woken up and gotten out of the cradle, and we're actually going to come and pick them up or whatever, or they're going to come pick us up. Okay, so he says, I'll take that story. So in that story, we go to the moon, we find like that black, like domino piece, nothing written on it. You can't even get into it, can't do anything to it, and it's just a big chunk of crap. And so all it really proves is some intelligent force made this, then I guess didn't like it, and buried it on the moon. That's really all it tells us. So we find that. Then we say, isn't that strange? I think it's Io, isn't it? Is Io the moon or Europa? I think it's Europa, actually. Europa. And Jupiter. And is an ice world. And we often wondered years ago why it was so bright. And, it has like a really bright albedo, we call it. And so the Arthur C. Clarke takes that and says, why is that so bright? Maybe that's an alien artifact too. So we dump the crap on the moon, the big domino piece, hop into the spaceship, head over to Europa, and we find out Europa is a man or human or alien-made device that is some sort of transmitter in the way. And then the guy hops in it, he heads through millions of light years, and he ends up with the aliens, who are vague, amorphous, non-entities in both the film and the book. And then he comes back and combs his mother's hair. That's the story. Now, the really interesting story that happens along the way, which actually has become the main story, is HAL, the computer. And so artificial intelligence, we made a machine, and the machine has run amok. And it's run amok because the machine is operating by strict logic, which means it's running by some sort of like system that we don't understand. And we've asked it to do something illogical. And so therefore the machine's kind of going crazy. And so a machine that we made to help us has gone crazy and is now attacking us. And that becomes a big part of the film, in the center of the film. That becomes what people remember and what people are interested in. And that has nothing to do with space, nothing to do with aliens, and is a Frankenstein story. A machine that we make is then attacking us. And but the aliens, we found a big monolith on the moon. We went there, we found a space gate, made out of this planetoid, Europa, that can take us millions of light years. Does the film or the book do anything with that? No. Doesn't even bother. It's like, you've got a space gate that'll take you millions of light years. Yeah, but that's not interesting. That thing on the moon and the artificial intelligence, that was interesting. So it's just really silly, the priorities of that film and that book. And then the guy, when the aliens kind of send him back as this being of energy or whatever, and he goes back and what's he do? He goes back and sees his mother in the nursing home and combs her hair. It's like, is that really your message to us? It's like a ghost. The ghosts come back from the dead and you say, what's it like being dead? And they say, oh, cold, dark. And it's like, did you lose all your brains after you died? Do you have absolutely nothing to contribute? Because if so, piss off. And just go back to wherever it is ghosts go. It's like, you got nothing more to contribute than that. I could get that from a bug. Cold, dark. It's like, no, you died, you came back, and you can't tell me what it was like. Well, get out of my way then. Like, what a useless ghost. And it's the same way as this guy. He goes and meets the aliens, comes back, has nothing to tell us. And I'd say, waste of time. Wouldn't even have sent the guy out to Europa. And probably it was a big mistake even digging up the domino.